Good evening. The 8th regular meeting of the Medford City Council, February 23rd, 2021. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Bears.
Present.
Council Falco.
Present.
Vice President Knight.
Present.
Council Marks.
Present.
Council Morell.
Present.
Council Scarpelli.
Present.
President Caraviello.
Present. Please rise and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation of the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Medford City Council will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members and of the public and parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the City of Medford website at www.medford.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting link contained herein. No in-person attendance of the members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we were able to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the City of Medford or the Medford Community website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, before we start, I have a letter to read into the record from the Massachusetts Office of the Attorney General. On or about June 25th, 2020, a complaint was filed by Linda Julian with the Medford City Council alleging a violation of the Open Meeting Law, Chapter 38, Section 18-25, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 23B, 940, 2905. Our office received a response from the council on July 14, 2020. After 30 days have passed since the complaint was filed with the public body, but within 90 days from the date of the alleged violation, a complaint may be filed with the Division of Open Government for review, General Law 38, Section 23B, 940, 29056. We sent you an email on July 27, 2020, saying that if we did not receive the original complaint and a request from you by September 18, 2020, we would presume the action taken by the council was sufficient and would close this file. Our office currently has no record of a request for further review from you in this matter. Therefore, we now consider this matter closed. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or if you believe anything stated in this letter to be accurate. Erica Warren, Massachusetts Office of the Attorney General. Mr. Clerk, if you can please read that into the records. Motions, orders, and resolutions.
Mr. President, before you call for that,
Vice President Marks. I'm sorry, Councilor Marks.
would I get a promotion?
Yes.
That's great. What does it pay? That's great. Mr. President, 2 weeks ago, this council voted unanimously to ask that we receive a weekly update from the Board of Health Director regarding Phase 1 and Phase 2 rollouts of the state and city vaccination.
That is correct.
Mr. President, I would ask that every week prior to the motions, orders, and resolutions, that we receive the update from the Director of the Board of Health. And I was wondering if she's on the call tonight, Mr. President.
I do not see her on the call here. I do not, Councilor Marks, she is not on the call.
Okay, do we have anyone from the city administration on?
We do not have anybody from the administration either.
But you could request it on C-Click Fix.
Mr. President, it was, I believe it was several months back, the council requested a monthly update.
Yes.
And now with the vaccination rollout and the importance of getting our seniors and our first responders vaccinated, that we requested that we receive weekly updates, Mr. President.
That is
I don't
correct.
think that's a lot to ask. As we all know, this is an evolving subject. Every day it changes. New information comes out every day. We heard today that potentially schools will be back sometime in April for the elementary schools on a full-time basis. So this is something very important, Mr. President, that we receive updates as well as the general public be informed, Mr. President. And this is one avenue to do so. I'm not saying that this is the only avenue. It's one avenue. I am extremely disappointed that there is no one on from the Board of Health to give this council and give the residents of the community update, Mr. President. I still am receiving calls from seniors that are looking to get into the system, waiting for the city of Medford to open their site, which we heard now is probably not going to happen because they're going to more of a group effort with Melrose and Malden, Mr. President. But there are many seniors. I believe we got statistics. There are over 4,500 seniors that are over 75 that would be eligible for the injection, Mr. President, that live in the city of Medford. And it's important that we know, Mr. President, the outreach that's happening in this community. Are seniors being contacted? Are there a list? Is there a current list that the city of Medford is working off of? What type of outreach? Are they reaching out to seniors? We can identify, we don't have to get into medical issues, Mr. President, but we can identify the population that's eligible. Now it's open for residents 65 to 74 that may have some other associated health risk also, Mr. President, and how many thousands more Medford residents are eligible. You know, I keep on getting phone calls from residents saying they can't make it to these other large state sites. They just don't have the bandwidth to get out to these sites. And we're asking our most vulnerable population to go out to these mega sites. They don't have the ability to get there. They don't have the ability to stand in maybe hour-long lines, which I had witnessed myself, Mr. President, over at Fenway Park. Hour-long line, Mr. President. I think that's asking a lot of our seniors, and all we're asking for is a weekly update. So I would hope, Mr. President, if they're not on the call tonight, if they don't jump on tonight, that next Tuesday, that we take up this again before motions, orders, and resolutions are called, Mr. President.
I will reach out to the Board of Health tomorrow to make sure that they either send us out a report or make sure that they have a next.
No. I want someone, Mr. President. We voted to
I will
have
make sure
an
that
update.
someone is here next week.
Someone physically here to speak to us. I don't think we're asking a lot of one of our department heads and during a pandemic to give us an update, Mr. President. Thank you.
Council Scarpelli.
Thank you for bringing this up, Council Marks. I too was prepared to just ask a simple question that had a few phone calls this week, and I heard the rollout at the Andrews and all the volunteers were amazing. The program was a great turnout, but the confusion that I heard from many constituents after the fact that were bringing their parents or trying to find appointments, that they saw they talked to a lot of people that weren't from the city of Medford. So that was the confusion. The confusion was they were told that people from Malden and Melrose were, and that should be something we should have someone from the administration or the Board of Health just to explain to our constituents what the benefit by having a consolidated effort, like maybe that we can go to Melrose Wakefield, Medford residents, or vice versa. We don't know that. Well, at least that's what the communications I got back from a few seniors. So if we can ask the Department of Health to have that answer ready for next week, I think would be helpful. Thank you.
I will make sure that that someone from the Board of Health is here next week to answer the questions and every week until this is passed. Thank you, Council Marks. Motions, orders, and resolutions. 21069, offered by Vice President Knight, be it resolved that the Medford City Council extend its deep and sincere condolences to the family of John Spike Lawless on his recent passing. Vice President Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Just recently, friend Spike Lawless passed away, and any of us that knew Spike knew what a great gentleman he was. Cambridge firefighter, retired, established an organization to provide support among fellow firefighters for post-traumatic stress syndrome, for tragedies seen in the line of duty well before mental health was something that was talked about, Mr. President. A pioneer in the field of mental health and counseling. Mr. Lawless would be a fixture at St. Raphael's Parish, West Medford Hillside Little League, or bopping around town down in West Medford Square, getting his Dunkin' Donuts. And just recently we lost him. He's gone on to a better place, but he will be sadly missed, Mr. President. He was a great father, a great friend, and he's someone that really gave a lot to this community. And as we've all said before, each week we have condolences on the agenda, and each week it's a person that gave so much of themselves to making Medford a great place. And there's such a concern about when that next generation and next crop is going to come up and fill their shoes. And if anybody's going to try to fill the shoes of Spike Lawless, they got some pretty big shoes to fill, Mr. President. So I'd ask my colleagues to support this resolution and offering condolences to the family during this difficult time.
Thank you, Vice President Knight. Okay, on the motion by Vice President Knight, seconded by Councilor Falco. We can please rise and take a moment of silence. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Falco.
Yes.
Vice President Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morell.
yes,
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21070, offered by Councilor Bears. Be it resolved by the Medford City Council that the City Administration, Building Department, and Health Department provide an update on the complaints and inspections process for reporting health and safety issues for tenants and meet with the council to address ongoing problems and improve the system going forward. Councilor Bears.
Thank you, Mr. President. I put this resolution forward for a few reasons. One of them is the message we received from residents of the Alpha Management Building at 53 to 63 Bellsway West. But I've also, since that came out, spoken with a lot of residents who have had some issues reporting, health or safety concerns to the city and getting units inspected. So I put this forward because, we really need to make sure the city is fulfilling the responsibility that we have for inspections around safe and healthy housing. We had made some initial progress. I spoke to the city administration last week, making it clear on the city website how to report a complaint and request an inspection, which we can now do through the online permitting service. So that is one item that has been improved. But we do need to do more to make sure that the city has an effective, responsive, and transparent system for making sure that residents can get health and safety inspections. So I'm hoping we can look at the issue as a council and take action as the city. And I'm happy to report this either to the Housing Subcommittee or Committee of the Whole, whatever my fellow councilors would prefer.
Thank you.
Motion to refer to the Housing Subcommittee, Mr. President.
On the motion by Councilor Knight to refer this to the Housing Subcommittee. Any further discussion on this? Okay. On the motion by Councilor Bears, seconded by Vice President Knight to refer this to the Subcommittee on Housing. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears.
Yes.
Counselor Falco.
Yes.
Vice President Knight.
Yes.
Counselor Marks.
Yes.
Counselor Morell.
yes,
Counselor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21701, offered by Councilor Bears, be it resolved by the Medford City Council that the city administration, through the Building Department and Health Department, address the serious health and safety problems reported by residents at Alpha Management Properties on Fellsway West. Councilor Bears.
Thank you, Mr. President. Along a similar vein, This is specifically requesting an update on the issues at 5363 Fellsway West, and I'm hoping to get that update promptly so residents can make sure they're living in safe and healthy conditions.
Thank you.
I move approval.
Any further discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none. On the motion by Councilor Bears, seconded by Vice President Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Bears,
Yes.
Council Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight. Council Marks. Council Morel,
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21072, offered by Councilor Bears. Be it resolved by the Medford City Council that the city administration submit public comments to the FAA regarding air quality noise reduction prior to the March 15th deadline for submission. Councilor Bears.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I think we're all very aware, airplane noise has been a severe issue across Medford, especially since the FAA implemented new flight path rules that really channel most of the traffic leaving Logan Airport to the north, right over Medford's residential neighborhoods. There is a new federal administration with President Biden, Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg, and there is a public comment period currently open at the FAA to allow input around airplane noise. And I would like the city administration to submit public comments to that public comment period, indicating that we need relief from the excessive airplane noise that we're seeing in Medford. And I move approval.
Thank you, Councilor Bears. Councilor Morel.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank Councilor Bears for bringing this forward. I was able to attend one of the recent community meetings that the FAA hosted on the earlier this month. And I was very dismayed to see representatives from the FAA kind of discount a lot of the very legitimate complaints and issues that people in Medford and surrounding communities have, citing that, planes are quieter and ignoring the fact of why Medford is in such a difficult spot with the RNAV change and the constant onslaught and planes going over the same path over and over and over, that it doesn't matter if they're a little bit quieter than they were in 1970 when you have, one every minute. That doesn't matter. So I thank Councilor Bears for bringing this forward because clearly this agency really needs to hear from voices in Medford and beyond that this is a real problem and not something that they can ignore or try to explain away anymore. So thanks to Councilor Bears, and this has my support.
And we do have some responses from the mayor in your package this week from both the FAA and different other departments. So there is a response.
Amend the paper, Mr. President?
Any further questions?
I'd like to amend the paper to request that a copy be forwarded to our Massport and our CAC reps so that they're aware of the council action.
Amended to forward a copy. Okay. On the motion by Councilor Bears.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Falco. As amended by Councilor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Bears,
Yes.
Council Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight.
Yes.
Council Marks. Council Morel,
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21073, offered by Councilor Morel. Be it so resolved that the city administration provide an update to the city council on CARES Act expenditures used for contract tracing, vaccination, and other COVID-related expenses as referenced in the Q2 finance update. Councilor Morel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, as this resolution indicates, this is something that was raised at the Q2 meeting last week, I believe, where we had a brief overview slide that referenced $2.1 million of CARES Act funding that had not been yet specifically assigned or allocated by city departments. And I'm just requesting that we get an update on how this is being spent for the purposes which were referenced, which was COVID-related spending, vaccination, and contact tracing. The Chief of Staff did note that things change so frequently. This is something that's hard to give a long-term or really looking forward report on. So I'm just asking that we get an up-to-date report on this as soon as possible as we know where this money is proposed to be going. And I move approval.
Thank you. Any
Second.
further discussion, please? The motion by Councilor Morel, seconded by Councilor Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Bears,
Yes.
Council Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight,
Yes.
Council Marks, Council Morel,
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli? President Carviallo?
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21074, offered by Council Scarpelli, be it resolved that our city, state, and federal leaders stand together and express the urgency of making our teachers a priority for COVID vaccinations. Council Scarpelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's been a lot of movement, especially in the last 24 hours, with the governor proclaiming and the head of the Board of Education that we're going to, at least for the younger grades, to full in-school learning for our elementary school students. And did a little research, and you're seeing the support of many different medical professionals talking about the safety of our children, and that they are limited in transmitting the virus. But I think the biggest concern is our teachers. Sometimes it's a more elderly population, and veteran teachers are afraid to come back, and we can understand why. We do want to get back to school. I'm one of the parents that want to see teachers back in the classroom, but this is a simple fix. If we moved all of our first responders to the front of the line, and we want to reopen our schools, there's no reason why we shouldn't have our teachers moved right to that front of that line. So it's a little disheartening. The good news, I can go get my vaccine shot because I'm a little overweight. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's a positive. But our teachers that are going to be educating our students need to feel comfortable and safe. And I think it's important that we start putting our teachers as a priority, and that we reach out to all of our team members in government and really stress to the governor that the teachers need to be put to the head of the line. So I ask this for my colleagues to support, and I hope that we can move quickly to try to get this important demographic taken care of. Our teachers need it. Thank you.
Council Bears.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Councilor Scarpelli for putting this on our agenda tonight. I think this is really essential. I think we've actually heard from most, if not all, teachers and teachers unions as well, that they would like to have a good plan in place to get back into the classroom and start addressing some of the, mental health impacts that have happened with schools being closed for so long. But it is also simultaneously very frustrating. There's a study out today that says the main driver of COVID spread in schools is the adults, the educators, not the students. However, the CDC is saying, it's safe to be in the building if you have social distancing, if you have masking, if you can follow these safety protocols, which kind of conflicts with the idea of going back, 5 days a week with everybody in the classroom. It's very difficult to follow social distancing and safety protocols if you have 30 students in a single classroom. So I really think it's more essential than ever that teachers are moved to the front of this list, especially if the governor's, proposals for April reopenings are to go forward. So thank you, Councilor Scarpelli, and I second your motion.
Thank you. Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank Councilor Scarpelli for bringing this forward. It's a very important issue. DESE's pushing for full-time return to in-school, full return to in-person learning. And, this can't be achieved without significant changes in our social distancing guidelines. We know that adults more often are seriously affected by the coronavirus. And we need to ensure that our teachers, are vaccinated before they return to the classroom full-time. Teachers want to be in person with their students teaching. The parents want their children at school. We need to make sure that teachers have the ability to get vaccinated. Teachers are essential. The protection of their health needs to be prioritized, and they do need to be vaccinated. If you take a look at, around our country, there are 28 states that have prioritized teacher vaccination, and the state of Massachusetts still has not prioritized teacher vaccinations. It's kind of like almost a recurring theme. I feel like the state of Massachusetts is trailing from behind, and usually in most, other instances, we're at the top of the pack. We're at the front of the pack. We're leading the way. And I feel like time after time now, we're falling behind. And I think this is an issue where we should be up in front. We should be getting our teachers vaccinated, and we're not. So I thank Councilor Scarpelli for bringing this forward, and I would also move approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Morel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also want to thank Councilor Scarpelli for introducing this and for his prescience, seeing the news coming out at the state level today being more important than ever, this being more important than ever. Just echoing what's already been said is I know students want to get back, I know teachers want to get back, and they want to do so safely. I do just also want to note that, as I understand, this school committee passed a resolution to this effect earlier this month. So if this passes the council, I think it's a great effort in showing a united front and united voices pushing for this. So this has my support, and again, thanks to Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you. On the motion by Councilor Bears, by Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call, Councilor Marks, did you want to speak?
Just briefly, Mr.
Yes,
President.
I'm sorry, Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank Councilor Scarpelli and the comments of my colleagues. I fully agree with teachers should be listed as essential workers. They are essential workers when they're dealing in teaching our kids, and by no stretch of the imagination should they could be considered otherwise. It was stated by the governor just recently that the inability for them to have the visibility of how many injections they're going to get in from the state on a weekly basis is the inhibitor right now with rolling this out to teachers and to other people that may be in need of the injection. And the governor was requesting that the federal government give at least a 3 or 4 week window on what we're going to get for vaccinations, the number of vaccinations, and that'll enable us at our sites, our mass vaccination sites, to roll this out more effectively and efficiently and be able to have people book 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks out at a time, which is currently not happening right now. So some of it's logistics, Mr. President, and I would ask as part of this that we also send a correspondence to our federal delegation asking that they at least give some more visibility and insight on the number of injections we're going to get as a state. So when we roll out our plan, that we're able to plan for it and book residents and teachers in advance, Mr. President. I would also ask that the school committee, show leadership. And once again, Mr. President, meet in a public setting. We're going to be asking teachers, we're going to be asking students to get back into the classroom, Mr. President. And I think it's only appropriate that the school committee lead by example, Mr. President, and have their meetings held in a public setting. Thank you.
Thank you. On the motion by Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Bears. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll. As amended by Councilor Marks.
Councilor Bears.
What's the amendment from Councilor Marks, just so I'm aware?
Mr. Clerk, could you read back the amendment?
I believe there were 2. Correspondence to the federal delegation requesting more insight on the number of vaccinations that are going to be available in Massachusetts
The number of vaccinations in advance
in advance.
that will be available. That'll help for planning.
And
On
then
the state level.
was your request to the school committee, was that also an amendment?
That wasn't an amendment, that
Okay.
was just a comment.
Okay. So that was the.
Yes.
Councilor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight. Councilor Marks. Councilor Morel,
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli,
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21075, offered by Councilor Falco and Councilor Scarpelli. Be it resolved that the Parks Department, in conjunction with the Recreation Department, retrofit each city tennis court for pickleball use. Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. I received a number of calls over the past week regarding pickleball. Pickleball is gaining a lot of popularity. It's been around for many years, but I think in our area, it's gaining popularity. And from what I've been told, it's gaining a lot of popularity with our senior residents, and similar to tennis, but not quite like tennis. It's similar to tennis, and like I said, it's become very popular. But currently, our parks aren't lined for pickleball. So, what this resolution is actually it's an attempt to basically have our parks lined for pickleball use. I watched a meeting that was held by the administration last week. It was an update with regard to our parks and open space. And I believe one of the courts at Duggar Park is going to be lined for pickleball sometime in the future. And it was also recommended that when Carr Park is reconstructed or renovated, that they will have some sort of a pickleball court for use. But, you know, if you take a look at the city of Medford, you know, we have many parks throughout our community in all different sections of the city, all different neighborhoods. And we pride ourselves on our parks and open space. And, you know, so what this resolution is, it's basically a proposal that all of our tennis courts be lined or retrofitted so that they can be used for pickleball. The way I look at it is this would open up use for pickleball. It would make our parks, it would give the availability for people to play pickleball in any neighborhood, not just have to go to one particular park. And, you know, one of the people that I did talk to, had also mentioned that, you know, they felt that there should be more programming for seniors. And I think this is a great opportunity to have, you know, programming for our seniors and to have pickleball throughout the city of Medford. So I would ask that my councilors support this resolution. And I know Councilor Scarpelli has a few words to say about this as well. So at this point, I'd turn it over to my council colleague, Councilor Scarpelli.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks, Council Falco, for really putting this issue forward. I think that, you know, in my field, we see, in recreation, we see how important it is, especially today with the pandemic, trying to get, especially a demographic that's not being serviced in a sense as our seniors, and finding recreational activities that are pretty inexpensive and an easy fix if you allow it. Talking to the Director of Recreation this past week, Kevin Bailey, I know we have a great and highly successful pickleball program through Recreation and an outside organization, and they really started groundswell here in our community, like you're seeing in other communities that are giving constituents an opportunity to play. What that has also happened is that recreation organized program is great, but what we're seeing constituents that just want to go down the park and bring their paddles and go over to a tennis court and just have a pickup game. So what that would, what Council Falco was mentioning, you know, I know that we heard some concerns that if you paint the courts, you know, that will affect X, Y, and Z, but just like other sports and other sports facilities, there's a way to do that where you are using temporary paint, using a different color, so you're really not affecting the tennis court itself, but also giving an opportunity for you know, our participants in pickleball to have an opportunity to play in their neighborhood. So I think that we can end up becoming the mecca of pickleball here in Medford. Will be the talk of every town, and there'll be pickleball played across the land. But I know that you know, another option that if we can look at too. I know that some communities participate in pickleball on turf fields. It's recommended to play on, from what I was told, on the tennis courts. But if you see that it's really growing to that extent, there's other areas that we can facilitate pickleball courts. But again, this is great. We started off with what we're seeing in our community with a bocce court that needs to be revisited a little bit. Maybe take up the sand and put some stone dust, I guess, Mr. President. But I think that when you're adding these type of recreational activities, the people that in the past have been pushed to the side You know, I remember when our seniors' only recreational activity was walking around Meadow Glen Mall 455 times and then getting a coffee in the food court. But, you know, this is what our constituents are asking for, and I think that I appreciate Council Falco to bring this forward so we can help this move along. And like I said, this isn't a big budget issue. This could be a very easy fix, and it should be celebrated. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Moreau.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm, if I could, through the chair, I did some research on pickleball this weekend, and I thank the counselors for the opportunity to do such. I just want to confirm, so this would just be changing markings and paint. It doesn't have to change the netting at all, through the chair?
I don't play pickleball, so I don't know.
No, you don't. You don't have to. From what we gather, you don't have to. So I don't think it's something it's that dire.
Okay.
So I think it's appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
I know we have some speakers.
If I may, really quick, just, I believe there may be a few people that may want to speak on this issue on the call.
We have
Councilor
Bears.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank my fellow colleagues for putting this on the agenda. And if we paint these lines, the people will come. So I think that's a great way to think about it, and I'm fully in support of this and happy to defer to my fellow counselor.
Vice President Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Sure come a long way from playing street hockey at Playstead Park, huh? Wow. Sean Bates, Joe Sacco, David Sacco, Keith Chuck, Mike Morrison. I don't know of any famous pickleball players, Mr. President, but maybe Medford will be on the forefront of that as well. I've always been a strong supporter of expanding our recreational opportunities. And I've always been a strong supporter in, providing various opportunities. And I don't understand why we can't make the majority of our courts in this community multifunctional, Mr. President, between tennis, badminton, street hockey, pickleball, or whatever it's called here, basketball, adjustable rims, that type of stuff, Mr. President. We have a plethora of parkland in this community, more so than our neighboring towns. And that provides us with a unique opportunity to really expand our recreational programming. I'm very happy with the work that the Recreation Department has been doing, Mr. President. I would like to see maybe a adult basketball league, night league in the summer, a few things like that I think could be, real low-hanging fruit. If you look at the success that they had over in Somerville with their Trump Field basketball league that they had over there for 40 years. The park was packed every single night. And I think that these are initiatives that we can pursue, and pickleball is one of them. So I thank my colleagues for putting this on. I apologize to my street hockey playing friends that are going to be bumped off our tennis courts. But this is something I support wholeheartedly, and thank my colleagues for bringing it forward.
Thank you, Vice President Day. I see we have Paul C. has his hand up. Paul C., name and address for the record, please.
Unmute. Getting used to this Zoom stuff, Mr. President. Paul Camuso, 114 Lincoln Road, Medford, Mass. First of all, I want to thank Councilor Falco and Councilor Scarpelli for putting this on. As a former athlete at Medford High School, I love to see that we're trying to diversify the athletic programs and the recreational programs in our community. Just a few years ago, we were very lucky to get the recreation department into full swing, and to expand it to include more diverse opportunities for Medford residents. It's just a win-win, Mr. President. I really think that this is going to take off. You look at the bocce court, the old Italian Americans love bocce for the most part, and a lot of other people are now becoming part of that bocce league at not only the boat club, but also the new bocce courts here in our community. For many, many years, people would go over to the Italian club over in Malden to participate in bocce. And to see bocce and now pickleball come to fruition, I think it's a great opportunity for our residents. Furthermore, just on a side note, we have a lot of snowbirds in our community. The biggest voting blocks and the biggest group in this community, when you look at the numbers, are the senior citizens. And to give them more opportunity to enjoy their golden years of retirement, I think you have to do it, And I really appreciate you making an effort to put this in place. On another side note, my mom is a snowbird, as most of you know, and down in Naples, they actually have a tournament that brings in thousands upon thousands of people that play, and they actually set up professional pickleball courts. It's a big facility. And 3 years ago, when I visited my mom, never even heard of pickleball, but it certainly is something that's taken off, not only here, but down in Florida, where the retirees go down and enjoy the nice warm winters that we unfortunately don't have up here. So I just wanted to go on record. If I could too, if as a former member of the council and a parent of a student in the Medford Public Schools, I think it's very important. I used to put this on yearly when I was a member of your honorable body, but I think the safety audit of all the parks to make sure, especially now, because once the parks are up and running, I think you're going to have more people out there this year than ever due to the fact of the COVID-19 situation. So if you could, somebody think about putting on the agenda or making a paper to have the Parks Department do the safety audit, just to go through the entire facility structures and check all the nuts and bolts so that we can prevent injuries. I think it's a no-win. It's a win-win for the community, and we can't go wrong when we're trying to provide safety to the senior citizens, and in this particular case, the youth of our community. So once again, thank you to Councilor Falco and Councilor Scarpelli. I like when you guys think outside the box. You get down there on Tuesday night and you do the people's business. So I really appreciate that. And on another note, you guys are showing leadership. You're showing people that the country can still move forward under this devastating vaccine program that's before us now in the COVID situation by showing up on Tuesday nights and getting the people's business done. The continuity of government has to be paramount. And the people that are there tonight are doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Camuso. Any further questions from the public? Okay, I don't think I see any. Okay, on the, Councilor Scarpelli.
If I can, if we can just amend the paper to if we can call for a subcommittee meeting for youth and recreation affairs. I think it's important that we can follow up with that with Director of Recreation, and also move forward some discussion before the budget and making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row when it comes to recreation here in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing that's such a big senior sport, maybe I should be looking into it. Maybe it'll be my new next hobby. On the motion by Councilor Falco and Councilor Scarpelli, as amended by Councilor Scarpelli, seconded by Councilor Marks. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears,
Yes.
Councilor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight,
Yes.
Councilor Marks,
Yes.
Councilor Morel,
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli,
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21076, offered by Councilor Falco and President Caraviallo. Be it resolved that the city administration develop a pilot program to resurface a portion of our roads using recycled asphalt. Councilor Falco.
Thank you, Mr. President. So each of us has received many calls, I think, throughout the years, each and every one of us, with regard to potholes, streets that are in disrepair. And this here is a program that President Caraviallo and I learned about last year at a conference. And what it is it basically takes recycled asphalt and actually they use it to pave the street again. And there are numerous benefits to the process. Shorter construction times, it's easier to use around catch basins and manholes and water valves and whatnot. And it lowers engineering and traffic control costs as well. Last week, we received an update from CFO for the city of Medford. And to say the least, the 2022 city budget is going to be a challenge. So this option that myself and my colleague are putting forth tonight, I think is just a way to think out of the box to see if there's some way that we can work together to move forward and get some of our streets paved at a reasonable cost. The city is struggling for money and revenue, but I think this might be an option to pave our streets and or at least come up with a pilot program. Even if we try doing this to a few of our streets, we should at least try. And it's just a cheaper alternative to paving our streets the way we currently pave them. So I actually have additional information for anybody that wants to see it. They can make a copy. But at this point, I would ask for your support, and I move approval.
Thank you, Council Falco. And if I want to thank Council Falco again for bringing this forward. This is something Council Falco and I brought up last year also. And again, the benefit of using our own recycled asphalt is normally, I don't know if anybody, but normally when they mill a street, they take it to a plant and they give it to them. We have to buy it back from them. So what these companies do is they do it right on site. So as they're milling and grinding, they're making the asphalt right behind the truck, and it's coming right back out. So again, it was something that we brought up last year. It didn't really go anywhere, and I would hope that the administration and Mr. Kerins look at this again, especially when money's tight, then money for roads. And if we can do 2 roads for the price of 1, I say that's what we need to do. And again, it's time that this be looked at. And again, I hope that this gets looked at again this year. So I thank you, Council Falco, and myself for bringing this up.
Thank you.
Any further discussion, Mr.
President.
Councilor Marks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank my 2 colleagues, Councilor Falco and Councilor President Caviello, for putting this on. As I've stated in the past, we put very little to almost no money to resurface our roads in the budget. So we rely heavily on Chapter 90 money, which is about $980,000 a year we receive from the state. And when you have over 700, 800 streets in a community, you can imagine $980,000 doesn't go too far in having a plan to resurface our roads. Councilor Knight offered something back, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 2 years now, regarding having our streets inspected through this machine that would go and almost do like an x-ray of the roads, up and down the roads, and be able to give you a printout on what streets are in dire need to be repaired and so forth. And it sounded like a magnificent idea to at least understand our 700 or 800 roads, what the condition is, how they're evaluated, and what priority they're put in. Because right now, I think it's just a matter of, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I can tell you firsthand, I've lived on a street almost 30 years that hasn't been touched in 30 years. I think looking at some of these innovative and creative ways of potentially, as you mentioned, Mr. President, having a dollar spread a little further and doing more roads per year. And as Councilor Knight mentioned a while back, by evaluating our streets to see where the priority roads are, I think that goes a long way in having an approach, a systematic approach to addressing what our needs are in the community, Mr. President. And so I support this paper wholeheartedly. I'd like to see it, even if we can roll it out to sidewalks as well. I know this substance could probably be used on sidewalks as well. And if that's the case, it may be a cost-effective way of handling some of the trip and falls that end up being lawsuits in a quicker and much more reasonable fashion, Mr. President.
Councilor Marks, if you can recall, Councilor Falco and myself also brought out a program for a company to come to the city that does that. They go out, they assess the sidewalks, and they tell you which ones they can easily fix by either grinding or bringing them down to level.
Correct.
So again, this is something that's been brought up to the administration before, and if you do a little bit of work, there's companies out here to do that stuff. So again, there's no reason why we can't be looking into it, especially during these tough financial times. No. Okay, on the motion by Councilor Falco, seconded by Councilor Marks. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears.
Yes.
Councilor Falco.
Yes.
Vice President Knight. Yes. Councilor Marks.
Yes.
Councilor Morell.
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli.
Yes.
President Caraviello.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. Okay, communications from the city clerk. 21077. City of Medford 2021 municipal election calendar. On the motion by Councilor Knight to have a brief synopsis by the clerk, seconded by Councilor Falco. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears,
Yes.
Counselor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight, Counselor Marks,
Yes.
Counselor Morrell,
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli, yes, President Caraviallo.
Yes. Motion passes. Mr. Clerk, if you'd like to give a brief synopsis.
Absolutely, and I will be brief. As you're all aware, we have a minimum of 2 elections a year in Medford. The elections in the even year are set by the state. The elections in the odd years are set by the city clerk with the approval of the city council. So this is the preliminary. This is the get the ball rolling document to get us in a position to prepare and execute our elections for September if it is necessary, and for November. And this document lays out all the important dates and times for that election, starting with the nomination papers in June, going all the way through the end of the year campaign finance report in January of 2022.
Okay. Paul C. has his hand up. Paul C., name and address for the record, please.
Mr. President,
I'm sorry, Councilor Bears.
thank you. Just a couple quick questions for the clerk. Are there any major departures on this calendar from previous years?
There are no major departures. I think 2 years ago, the petitions were available, I believe, on June 11th. This year, they're June 8th. But we tracked previous years when we compiled this calendar. We also conferred with Woburn and Somerville to make sure that we're all on the same page, so that there's no confusion among voters.
Great. And do you have any expectations or information around mail-in ballots and early voting?
We're tracking that, but as you know, that could change daily. That's pending the legislature right now. We do expect an uptick in requests for absentee ballots, but we're going to be following closely any legislation to mandate early voting this year.
Thank you. And I just raised that point because, it has been a priority of this council to have an elections coordinator hired by the city to take on the additional work of, all of the elections that the clerk's office has been running and the registrar of voters has been running. So thank you for keeping an eye on it. And I just wanted to put that election coordinator idea out there once again. Thank you.
And as you mentioned, the election coordinator, she's obviously working in a temporary role right now, but she was instrumental in helping us to prepare this calendar.
Yes, a permanent position. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul C. has his hand up. Name and address for the record, please.
Paul Camuso, 114 Lincoln Road, Medford, Mass. Thanks again, Mr. President. I'd like to make a quick comment on the upcoming elections. We all know that with COVID and the last few election cycles, there's been some movement amongst the VFWs no longer a polling place, as well as some other minor moves. The Temple, not the Temple, the American Legion. And I think it's important that you get the message out via all the communication that you can, because some people received ballots last election that didn't put in for a mail-in ballot, like myself. I actually brought that to the attention of the city clerk at the time. I just think there has to be a very good PR push to let everybody know what's going on, just because there's so many moving parts with COVID, and the Secretary of State just filed a bill for mail-in voting to become permanent. So whatever direction it goes in, I just think the public needs to know, because not everybody picks up the Boston Globe and reads the papers and does all their research. So it's incumbent upon this city to do that aspect of notifications, I believe.
Thank you. Okay, on the motion of approval by Vice President Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Bears,
Yes.
Counselor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight, Counselor Marks,
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Scarpelli,
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. Excuse me. Communications from the mayor, 21037, February 16, 2021. To President Richard Caraviello and all members of the City Council, from Mayor Brianna Longo-Kern. Licensing of food trucks. Dear President Caraviello and members of the Medford City Council, I respectfully request that the Medford City Council approve the following request for a food truck at the Andrews School. Due to COVID-19 pandemic and city's temporary policies limiting events and gatherings, the attached application includes some unique considerations which have been reviewed and approved by my office as well as the Board of Health. This is a request for 2 trucks to be stationed at the Andrews School for a pickup of pre-ordered dinner items. No congregating will be allowed as part of this plan. This is a request to reschedule the PTO fundraiser that had previously been scheduled for February 10th that had to be rescheduled. Medford Streets Food Truck PTO fundraiser will be March 3rd, 2021. Time will be 4 to 7, and the setup begins at 3 o'clock p.m. And the location will be at the Andrews School. Thank you for your consideration. Respectfully submitted, Mayor Brianna Longo-Kern. Councilor Vice President Knight.
Mr. President, thank you very much. This matter has been before our body on several occasions. Last time we took a look at it and we had some concern as to whether or not the City Council should be approving an application for a permit where the entity would be doing business on school property. And we asked that the school committee take a review of the application and report back to us whether or not it falls within their fundraising policy criteria. In looking at the applicant that's before us personally, I'm not too crazy about the idea of doing business with them, but I don't want to stand in the way of the PTO getting the fundraiser under their belt. I wouldn't necessarily call this a fundraiser, Mr. President. I would call it the food truck provider jacking up their prices 16%, and that 16% of sales being donated back to the school. I don't think that that's quite in the spirit of philanthropy. However, as I stated, I don't want to get in the way of the PTO conducting a fundraiser or an event to bring excitement about the return to their school and to raise much needed funds. So, Mr. President, my concern now lies on the fact that, you know, we have an entity coming into the community. They've asked for permits in the past. We've denied them permitting in the past. They're now pursuing permitting through our PTOs in our public schools, through our children. My concern is that this PTO fundraiser is no more than a data mining initiative where they're going to be able to get people's personal information, emails, and the like, and then use that to begin a marketing campaign in the community, Mr. President. So I certainly have no problem approving this paper this evening for the simple fact that it's for the kids. However, I would like there to be requirements that no personal information or data be retained by the applicant following the conclusion of the event. Once they get paid, the party's over. And they're not going to be taking email addresses and emailing individuals in the community saying, do you want to be an ambassador? Do you want to have a food truck on your street? Use that as a form of solicitation, Mr. President. You know, to jack your prices up 18% and then call that philanthropy and donation, I don't quite see it. In my world, when you give, you give. Sometimes that comes right off the top. You know, jack your prices up and then pass off your jacked up profits and call that fundraising. So with that being said, Mr. President, I would move that the paper be approved with the following conditions: that no personal data be utilized or retained by the applicant following the conclusion of the event.
Thank you, Vice President Knight. Councilor Scarpelli.
I would second that, Mr. President. And thank you. I said, I too understand that was totally against this because of the implications to our brick and mortar businesses. And this is why I've been against the food truck initiative until we have an understanding of where and when these outside businesses are coming into our community and not paying permit fees and not paying taxes and not going through the protocol that all of our brick and mortar businesses go through to survive, and especially at this time. I had a great discussion with Vivian Sue after the event, after the meeting last few weeks ago. I talked to a few of the business owners in our community, that they are now touching base and understanding that we have brick and mortar businesses that would love to work as a fundraiser where 10% of the proceeds that go into that restaurant for that day, all the proceeds, that 10% of all people that go in there, not just the people from that school, would go directly to that fundraising organization. I think that's the true meaning of a true fundraiser. So again, that again shows the support of our brick and mortar businesses and what they're willing to give, even during these tough times. They're still reaching into their pockets and wanting to help our children, our community. So I will support this initiative tonight because I think some of our PTO members were put in a very difficult position, not understanding what was the movement with this. But to me, this is just a blatant effort of an end around where they came to us. We did not approve it. The person that was speaking from Watertown was moved with talking to principal and so on and so forth, and then this was born. So in a time where you're talking about probably one of the neediest communities, parts of our community that abuts our housing projects, and where a lot of our kids that have need, their classmates are walking outside and paying 16 to 18% more for a meal and can't be part of that program because of what is blown up payment system. I think is truly unjust and not an opportunity for those kids to be involved and do it right in front of them, in front of their faces. Really bothers me. But I will support this tonight and with a lot of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Scarpelli. We have a name and address for the record, man. Mr. Clerk, can you unmute him?
Yes, hi. Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Mr. President. My name is Anne Marie Eigner, and I'm the blatant person that you're accusing of doing end runs. I'm more than happy to withdraw our application and to stay out of Medford. It was never our intent to do end runs around anybody. Nobody is making any money. The food trucks are all small businesses. They pay a permit fee. So they do everything that's required in order to be wherever they are. I think that the accusations that I'm hearing tonight are extremely unfair. No one is making money. No one. And I'm really
Scarpelli. Point of information, I believe the records we have, man, we have that the prices were increased by 16%.
Correct.
Right, so you're not, so obviously, so the understanding of a true fundraiser is leaving those prices where you have it and then giving back to that community.
But that comes out of the trucks. That doesn't come out of me. That comes out of what the trucks make.
Thank you. I'm sorry, ma'am. Continue, please.
I apologize for interrupting, but I think from the very beginning, this council has misunderstood our intentions, and I really am saddened by it. Really, we've worked extremely hard. I really apologize to Vivian, but I withdraw our offer to do this event. It's not necessary. We don't have to do it. We wanted to do it as a way to, and again, I can't increase the prices of the trucks if the trucks are going to not be able to pay for their food and their staff. So we don't make any money. We make a small booking fee, and that's all we make. We've generated thousands of dollars for PTOs. It started because we asked them how they were going to fundraise this year, and they said they didn't have any idea. So that's what we tried to do. If it doesn't work in Medford, we completely respect that. We apologize if we were not clear from the very beginning. We most of all apologize to the Andrews Middle School, but we don't think we should proceed with our request in the city of Medford.
Ma'am, the paper has been read into the record, and it cannot be withdrawn without a vote. So, just want to let you know that.
Okay. Thank you.
The mayor. Yeah. Only the mayor can drive. Vivian Sue, would you like to speak? Vivian Sue, please. Name and address of the record, please.
Vivian Sue, 93rd Street, Medford, Mass. President, thank you so much for having us here again. I really appreciate hearing from Councilor Knight and Councilor Scarpelli. I appreciate very much the time that you took after our last meeting, Mr. Scarpelli, to chat with me and to share your concerns more deeply and to help me better understand. I would very much enjoy having a further meeting to talk about the brick and mortar stores that are interested in hosting fundraisers at this time with us, because surely, once again, we realize that the PTOs are at a disadvantage due to COVID and this pandemic. So we are scratching our heads trying to come up with creative ways. We thought that a food truck fundraiser sounded like a good idea, something new, something innovative, something that, we could do. But I understand all of the concerns. I was not there from the very beginning of the discussions that started months ago. So kind of jumping in midstream, but I appreciate hearing all sides, and I leave it at that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay. On the motion for approval by Vice President Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli, as amended by Councilor Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears,
Yes.
Councilor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight,
Yes.
Councilor Marks,
Yes.
Councilor Morell,
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli,
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. Thank you. Reports of committees. 21065, February 16, 2021. Committee of the Whole will report the following. 21065 was the Q2 update done by Finance Director Alicia Dunley, and she painted a picture of where we'll be going for the foreseeable future. And it's a little on the grim side, but hopefully we'll rebound and make some kind of comeback. So the motion by Councilor Knight to accept the committee report 21065, seconded by Councilor Falco. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears,
Yes.
Councilor Falco, Vice President Knight, Councilor Marks,
Yes.
Councilor Morell,
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli,
Yes.
Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. 21026, February 17th, Committee of the Board. This 21026 was with Republic Parking, and Republic Parking gave a brief overview of what they're doing as something that we've done every year. And I think we got some things ironed out last week. So the motion by Vice President Knight, seconded by Councilor Scarpelli. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears,
Yes.
Councilor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight, Councilor Marks,
Yes.
Councilor Morell,
Yes.
Councilor Scarpelli,
Yes.
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. Public participation. Let's see. I don't see any hands up. Motion to minutes. The records were passed to.
February 9th with the Councilor Marks, they were tabled.
Okay, the records of February 9th were passed to Councilor Marks. They were tabled. Councilor Marks.
Mr. President, I review the records, find them to be in order, and move approval.
The motion by Councilor Marks to accept the records of February 9th, seconded by Vice President Knight. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Bears,
Yes.
Councilor Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight, Councilor Marks,
Yes.
Council Morel,
Yes.
Council Scarpelli. Yes. President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. The records of the meeting of February 16, 2021 were passed to Council Morel. Council Morel, how did you find those records?
I found them to be in order, Mr. President, and move approval.
On the motion by Council Morel, seconded by Councilor Falco. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Bears,
Yes.
Council Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight, Council Marks,
Yes.
Council Morel,
Yes.
Council Scarpelli,
Yes,
President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes.
Mr. President, before you adjourn,
Council Scarpelli.
I want to wish a very special person a happy 29th birthday. Carol Carviello, I believe, celebrated her 29th birthday. We wanted to make sure that, you know,
I'm sure she's watching right now.
well, anybody that's been married to you as long as she's been alive has been pretty impressive. So thank you.
I'm a little disheartened you guys forgot my birthday last week.
Happy birthday, Carol.
The motion, but any other discussion? The motion by Council Scarpelli. Sorry, Council Marks, you want to say something?
I do, Mr. President. Several weeks back, we had the Board of Health Director before us, and I believe it was Councilor Scarpelli asked the Board of Health Director when we could start having the general public into the meeting. And the Board of Health Director stated that as long as there's social distancing and all of the CDC rules and regulations are adhered to, we're fine to have members of the general public come up to our meeting. Since then, we've had at least 2 that I can recall, maybe 3 people come before the council in person to publicly state their opinions on issues. And Mr. President, I am dumbfounded why the building is still on lockdown while we have our meeting at 7 o'clock here at City Hall. So I would ask, Mr. President, respectfully, that these doors remain open during this council meeting, whereas we were given the green light by the Board of Health Director. Of course, unless things have changed and, you know, we weren't notified, but then again, we wouldn't know that because the Board of Health Director hasn't appeared before this council at our request. So I would ask, Mr. President, that these doors remain open for public input during the council meeting, Mr. President. And as I mentioned, as long as social distancing and all the CDC requirements are adhered to.
And I will reach out to the Chief of Staff and the Mayor tomorrow to address that subject. On another matter, something we talked about last week, and we had a member of the public here on the collection boxes at Wellington Circle. I had the opportunity to go by on Thursday, and the collection bins were overflowing, and there was stuff on the sides. And after doing a little bit of work, I was able to reach out to somebody from Standard Recycling to address the problem. And when I spoke to the gentleman, told him that the things were full, and he told me that he was unaware that we had a collection ordinance. He has spoken with Building Commissioner Mulkey, and on Saturday, he, true to his word, he said, I'll have a truck out there on Saturday. He did have the truck out there on Saturday to empty the bins, and he told me that he will be having a truck there this week to take the collection bins out of there until he conforms to the new ordinance. And on another note, he also stated that he has signed the lease with Kimco to rent that spot. And I explained to him that he should maybe wait till he goes a little further to see where the council wants to go with that collection box. So just a little update. So I know Mr. Foley was here last week, and since then it was full, and I'm glad the gentleman came. He was very responsive, came right down and cleaned it out. So I wanted to just say that thing. So on the motion to adjourn by Councilor Falco, seconded by Councilor Marks. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Bears,
Yes.
Council Falco,
Yes.
Vice President Knight. Yes. Council Marks,
Yes.
Council Morel,
Yes.
Council Scarpelli, President Caraviallo.
Yes, 7 in the affirmative, motion passes. Have a good evening. We'll see everybody tomorrow night.